this question a lot. What is the difference between a true personality disorder and just having the tendencies or the traits? So I talk a lot about narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and really all the disorders within cluster B, which also include histrionic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. And there is a difference between if you have the personality disorder or if you just have some traits and some tendencies. And to be clear, only a licensed therapist can diagnose you on whether or not you actually have a personality disorder. So this is just for educational purposes. But if you have a personality disorder, it means that it is so ingrained in your life and in your thinking, specifically your thinking, and then your behaviors, that it is having really a negative effect on your life, your interpersonal relationships, your career. And it is a way of established thinking for yourself if you're one of these people that has one of these disorders, but it is your way of thinking that will never change. Now, of course, if you realize that you have one of these personality disorders, you could go to therapy and you could get some guidance around how to change some of the behaviors, but the thinking will always be there. You can try to change how it is reflected externally of you, which is one of the benefits of if someone with one of these personality disorders actually goes and gets help and is honest and is vulnerable as they're getting that help. But any personality disorder is on a spectrum. So there might be some people that just have some traits or some tendencies or really just are toxic people as opposed to having a true personality disorder. So for instance, there might be someone that's going around, they're constantly gaslighting and manipulating people they're in relationships with, but maybe they're not quite as far as having the personality disorder. With that being said, most of the traits and most of the tendencies of all the cluster B personality disorders, but in particular narcissistic personality disorder, is very destructive. It's very toxic. Even if you're just showing traits or if you have the full-blown personality disorder, it's still likely a very toxic relationship that you're in. I know plenty of people that have some traits and some tendencies, and sometimes they come out more in one situation versus another. Someone that has the personality disorder is like this every single day. I will oftentimes get some comments on my page that are like, oh, well, we all have narcissistic traits. Yeah, sure. Certainly, we all have all of the traits of every personality disorder that's out there. It's at some level of the spectrum. But is it to the point where it is actually damaging our relationships and damaging our careers and damaging our family relationships? Is it at the point where it is literally the entirety of how we think and how we perceive the world? When it gets to that point, that's where it's a personality disorder. Don't try to diagnose yourself. Don't try to diagnose other people. But it's important to just understand, to be knowledgeable of these traits that are out there. And you need to determine for yourself whether or not these kinds of toxic relationships are worth your time and effort to stay in. If they truly have the personality disorder, it is extremely unlikely that they will ever change.